Next, we have Erik Nevland. He's a transportation planning engineer working as a project manager at the region of Peel. He got his bachelor degree as civil engineer at the University of Saskatchewan in 2018 and completed a master's in civil engineering at York University in 2020. Just right before the pandemic or during the pandemic, Erik? That's something that you have to answer in your presentation. That could be really interesting. Erik is registered as a professional engineer in Ontario, a professional transportation planner, and a pre-candidate member of the Ontario Professional Planners Institute. Erik is the Vice President of the Institute of Transportation Engineers Toronto section this year. Congratulations, Erik, and for sure you are receiving a lot of emails from ITE or Q already. Erik's areas of interest include transportation planning, transportation safety, freight transportation, geographic information systems, data analytics, and ITS, which is intelligent transportation systems. Erik is also former president of ITE York U, just as Kevin mentioned, and actually the first one, since he helped to start this beautiful community at York. Then now it's getting huge and better with the years. So thank you all for being part of this, and thank you and welcome to this seminar, Erik.
Excellent, Adonai, and thank you. And Dr. Gingrich, I'm really glad that you went first. There is a little bit of overlap, but I think the lessons overall that we have from a bit of a different perspective. Perfect. Well, again, thank you guys very much for coming in the evening. As Adonai said, my name is Erik Nevland, currently the Vice President of the ITE Toronto section, and my title's actually changed here within the last couple of weeks. So I was a project manager, but I'm now the Supervisor of Transportation Planning and Engineering at the region of Peel. So I just recently switched roles and still finding my own within the new position. But we'll talk about that a little bit in the presentation. So for today's presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about my path from a York University student to a working professional. And in doing so, I'm going to include a couple lessons, specifically 5 lessons, and I'm going to go over a couple job highlights as well. And like I said, some of the 5 lessons overlap somewhat with Dr. Gingrich's, but I think I can provide a different light, especially with respect to the professional aspect as opposed to a academic standpoint. So for some background on myself, unfortunately, I don't have any old newspapers of past relatives involved in transportation. But what I can note that I'm, like many of you, I'm not originally from Ontario. I'm actually from rural Saskatchewan, though I have worked within transportation for some time. So previously, I worked as a tire technician for agricultural and industrial and passenger vehicles. So kind of an interesting way to start within transportation. But like many of you, I was encouraged to go into engineering as I was interested in science and math. And that's really how I got my beginnings within engineering. And as Adonai had introduced at the beginning, so I have a certificate in professional communication from the University of Saskatchewan in 2017, a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from the University of Saskatchewan as well. And that's the picture of myself and I think then girlfriend, now wife, from back when I was doing my undergraduate. And then I have a Master of Applied Science in Civil Engineering, and I did finish that just before the pandemic. So I finished up in January, and then I went on a nice holiday with my wife and ended up sick in the hospital. Not COVID though, something else, but definitely lots of stories about the beginning of COVID, but I was not a student during the pandemic. So jumping ahead, I want to start introducing a couple of those 5 lessons that I promised at the beginning. And the first lesson is on diversifying your educational background. So differentiating yourself from your peers in advance of your graduation is something that can be really important. Yourself and all of your colleagues are going to finish your degree and everyone's going to have the exact same piece of paper. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it can provide you a bit of a competitive advantage if you're able to set yourself out from the pack a little bit. Based on some additional work that you do during your schooling. As well, it never hurts to broaden your set of skills and help you to get more opportunities for employment as opposed to something specific. And Dr. Gingrich touched on this earlier. So at the University of Saskatchewan, there was only 3 transportation engineering courses: geomatics, pavement materials and design, and transportation engineering. And I took those 3. But ultimately, I ended up taking 4 transportation planning courses on the building next door. Sustainable Cities and Regions, Introduction to Geographic Information Systems, Urban Planning, and Transportation Planning. And the reason that I took actually more transportation planning than engineering courses was to help diversify those skill set. And this has been really helpful for me. It helped me to get my initial role as a transportation planner at the Region of Peel, and it helped me to get my professional transportation planner designation, and it's currently helping me pursuing the registered professional planner designation. But this overall was something that was recommended to me by a professor that I was working with at the time, and that's Dr. Peter Park. At the time, I took Dr. Park's transportation engineering course. He was teaching at the University of Saskatchewan. And then I ended up working for him for about 3 summers. So I've known Dr. Park now for just over 10 years, and we've had a great working relationship. And in addition to the engineering course, I ended up doing that degree level certificate in communications, which is really key. Communications is key for engineers because historically we're not very good communicators. I took 6 courses from the Geography and Planning School and 4 courses in project management and business law. And I can tell you they're all very helpful in terms of finding the work and getting into the areas that I did. But for yourselves at York University, there's lots of options for you. I'd consider the Bergeron Entrepreneurs in Science and Technology or the BEST certificate. I think that's a great way to get some additional skills. There's also a GIS and remote sensing certificate. You can take courses from other colleges and broaden your horizons, or you can look at some co-op terms. And as an alternative to a co-op term, you can also look at interesting summer jobs. Like I myself, I didn't do a co-op term, but I did get several summers experience as an engineering technician, where I did surveying, materials testing, and site supervision and quality control, plus the 3 summers that I worked with Dr. Park. So in lieu of a co-op term, still good experience, still something to bring to the interviews. But after I completed my undergraduate studies, based on the recommendations from Dr. Park, I ended up moving to Ontario with my wife so that I could continue working with him, but now as a graduate student. And when some friends of ours asked why we're moving to Ontario, one of the answers that my wife gave was that it's for the better weather and the traffic congestion. It's typically not something that people think of in Ontario as the reasons to come. But as compared to Saskatchewan, it is a lot better. And the traffic congestion is really beneficial if you're looking for an area with really big, interesting problems to solve. And that's one of the benefits within the transportation profession. You're in a great area if you want really interesting careers. So that lesson 2 is follow opportunities. I wasn't originally intending to come to Ontario, but an opportunity arose and I followed that opportunity. And where I'm at today is because of Dr. Park and because I was provided this opportunity and I followed it. So you never know where you're going to get to, but make sure that you look for those opportunities throughout your academic career. So at York University, I studied under Dr. Park and Dr. Gingrich, and as mentioned, I was the founding president of the ITE York University student chapter. After my first year, I ended up transitioning into part-time studies to work at the Region of Peel, which is a regional municipality just beside Toronto. And following lesson 1 of diversifying my educational background, I took classes from Lassonde, from the School of Environmental Studies, as well as the Schulich School of Business. Because again, it's always really advantageous to diversify whenever you can. And I just wanted to mention too, with respect to the founding of the ITE York University student chapter, there's a lot of really great students that were involved in that, like Tanvir Chowdhury, Anson Thomas, Sean Alueshna, Crystal Lang, David Udema, and many, many others, as well as Dr. Gingrich, who provided a lot of support early on, as he continues to do today. And York University can be really thankful that they have a professor like Dr. Gingrich, who's this dedicated to the transportation students and providing additional opportunities. It's something that's really great. And that brings me though to lesson 3. And lesson 3 is get involved in your industry. It's important to participate or even better to volunteer with groups like ITE York U or the Geomatics Club, CSCE, or even the Model Train Club once Tim gets that going, ultimately can provide some benefits as well. But this isn't just important for students. Continue to participate and volunteer even after you graduate. I joined the Young Professionals in Transportation Toronto group right after graduating on their committee. And then I was elected to ITE Toronto to the executive and took on some committee roles with ITE International as well. And I can say that participating in these industry groups is a really great way to meet people, both new professionals like yourselves, but also experienced professionals, people who might be hiring. It's a small industry within transportation. The people that you meet early on are going to be the people that you continue working with as you get into the industry. And this can be really advantageous if you're looking for a job. And if you get involved afterwards, you can help other people discover this really interesting industry as well. So when applying for jobs, and this is my fourth of 5 lessons, treat finding a job as an extra course. Ultimately, for many of us, especially those who are pursuing the professional path as opposed to the academic path, this is why we're here. We're ultimately here to get a job. So it's really important as we get to the tail end of our education that we prioritize some of our time, preferably even sometime each week in the end of the second last semester and throughout the last semester, ensuring you're able to find good employment when you're done school. And in fact, this relates to a question: what's the most important class that you'll take during your undergraduate studies? And maybe Dr. Park might be upset that I'm not saying his transportation engineering course, but the answer is effective engineering communication. And the reason why is this is where it really helps you to develop and refine your resume, because it's that one piece of paper that arguably is as important, if not more, as the degree that they give you once you're completed, because this is what's going to showcase your skills to the industry that you're looking to be hired in. So make sure that after you've refined your resume that you're applying broadly. I've often told people the best first job is the one that hires you. You don't need to stick in your first job, and you might not even know what jobs are out there until you get into the industry. So apply and find a great job and learn as much as you can. And if new opportunities arise, such as moving to another province or pursuing more school, look at those opportunities as well. And then lastly, bringing things back to lesson 3, build connections within your industry. Even once you're starting to apply for work, go to career fairs, as Dr. Gingrich mentioned. Go to these events, because ultimately these might be the people you're sitting across the table from when you hit an interview, and that can be really advantageous. So now into some of the roles that I've had, and just so that you guys can get an idea of some of the entry-level and more experienced positions that you might be looking at once you're finished school. I'm going to go through some entry-level positions like transportation planner and technical analyst, and then go through the project manager and supervisor roles that I've had in more recent years. So first, the transportation planner, and this is Ucha Saha. He's currently a transportation planner at the Region Appeal. He's on my team, and he's a great guy, and he's a York University graduate. He did his master's degree here, so another York connection at the Region Appeal. So he's on the transportation system planning team, and his role is assisting in delivering informed planning and engineering decisions on initiatives that affect the region's complex transportation systems. And what does he do? And this is, I think, what everyone is really interested in. And it includes reviewing planning documents, project management, data analysis, transportation modeling, and advancing our goods movement, data management, and innovation strategies. An example of a really interesting project that he's involved in is the modeling for the Transportation Master Plan. This is a document that forms all of the decisions moving forward for our transportation infrastructure and how we plan our development of that infrastructure over 5, 10, 15 plus years. So this is the modeling that is needed to determine where this infrastructure needs to go, when it needs to be updated. So it's something that's really important and really technical. And courses that you take at York University to assist with this includes the transportation planning and evaluation course, the traffic simulation and modeling course, and the freight transportation course. So if these are courses that you find really interesting, if you've taken them, or if you're interested in a role like this, I highly encourage you to take these courses. Another great role is a technical analyst role. I personally haven't had the technical analyst role at the region, but I've worked really closely with technical analysts. This picture is Grace McCaughey. She, again, another York University graduate working in the traffic safety team. And her role is participating in ensuring the day-to-day operations of the transportation division are met with respect to the roadway, vehicular, and pedestrian safety. So what does that mean? She identifies safety issues on our regional roadways, she analyzes traffic safety data, and she provides recommendations and solutions based on accepted legislative and industry standards. And to give you a grounded example of that is network screening for a traffic safety countermeasure. So I've worked with Grace in developing the standards to determine where we're going to put our automated speed enforcement technology within the region of Peel to ensure that we're getting the maximum benefit while still staying within the recommendations of the provincial government and within the rules set out within the Highway Traffic Act. So again, courses at York University that might be relevant for this include the transportation engineering course, the pavement materials and design course, and even the introduction to probability and statistics, because again, there's a lot of stats involved in this types of analyst work. And then the project manager role is something that I previously held within traffic engineering. And essentially this is leading complex projects to meet departmental needs and priorities. So visioning, research, consultation, analysis, monitoring, providing recommendations and implementation. So in this role, I didn't do a huge amount of technical work. I oversaw a multidisciplinary teams that did that technical work. But overall, it's still really interesting. With one example of a major project that I'm still involved in being the development of a school bus camera enforcement program. So again, taking a technology that is not previously used within the province of Ontario and making sure that it is implemented in a way that aligns to the Highway Traffic Act and provincial requirements, the Provincial Offences Act, coordinating with Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of the Attorney General, Information Privacy Commissioner, local municipalities, school boards, all sorts of things. So a huge undertaking. And if this is something that you're interested in pursuing a little bit later on in your career, after you've had experience in an entry-level position, the courses you want to take, like engineering projects, effective engineering communication, again, arguably the most important class that you'll take in an engineering degree, as well as your civil engineering project management course, because again, these are real skills that you'll need to put into play once you get into the working world. And lastly, the supervisor role, I won't go very far into this. This is my most recent role. I've been in it less than 2 weeks, but essentially I lead now a dedicated team of planners and engineers to plan for current and future transportation system in the region and monitor performance and effectiveness. So again, it's a really interesting position, and it's really humbling to now be able to work with and supervise some of the people who are in the same role that I was in when I started at the region. And really, it's a combination of the experience that I learned during my academic career, through my extra professional career, like involvement with ITE, as well as my work experience and dedication within the field. And this is something absolutely that you guys can pursue as well, if you're interested. So wrapping everything up, the 5 lessons that I've presented to you, diversify your educational background, because this is what's going to help you get into different roles and to stand out. Follow opportunities. You never know ultimately what opportunities are going to arise. Get involved in the industry. It's really important to get involved in organizations like ITE and to make those connections, especially early on, but continuing through your career. Treat finding a job as an extra course. It doesn't take much time each week to make sure you're prioritizing getting that perfect job. And I think I only mentioned 4, so I need to come up with one more. And I'll say, make sure to work towards proper work-life balance. Work-life balance is something that's really important for me. My wife and I are currently expecting. So being involved with these organizations and switching roles, actually starting part-time grad studies again with Dr. Gingrich right now. So it's very busy, and with that, I'm terrible at it. So this is the part that it's something that I'm not good at, but I want you guys to pursue better. Make sure that you're pursuing that proper work-life balance, because it's really important, as Dr. Gingrich mentioned, to prioritize your mental health. And it's important to have things outside of academics and outside of work as well to occupy some of your time. Lastly, I'll just touch very briefly on the ITE Toronto section, which I'm currently with. So we're Toronto area's community transportation professionals and the one level up within the organization above ITE URQ. We serve all sorts of areas around the GTHA, plus a lot of other portions of Ontario, including Thunder Bay. We have about 730 members, and our purpose, just like your student organization, is to foster a closer association of members in the Toronto area and promote education and awareness of local transportation and traffic engineering policies, issues, concepts, and problems. And I'm more than happy to talk to any of you if you're interested about ITE Toronto. Maybe you're just finishing up, maybe you're looking for more different events that you can go to, or more industry folks that you can interact with. So please feel free to reach out. And a great opportunity to do so is our upcoming AGM and Christmas Luncheon. We haven't put out the announcement yet, but the date is Friday, November 25th from 10 to 3. And the reason that I can tell you this is because we've already booked it and we're doing it at the York University Student Center. So it's not too far for you. We'll posting it soon. So I hope to see you there, and we'll be announcing a keynote here hopefully soon. So make sure you save the date for that event. And with that, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys, and that's all to my presentation, but more than happy to spend some time with Dr. Gingrich and Ed and I and answer some of your questions. Thank you.